And we got off. And I had no idea where I was going. Like, suddenly I'm on Inisheer. And thankfully, the woman who reminded me vaguely of sort of like Mary Coughlin, obviously looked at me and thought, this lad is an assassin. What's he doing here? And she said, "How are you? I don't know. I have to try and get somewhere to stay." And she said, hold on, we give you a lift in. So she had a big old Jeep, like the big Jeep in Vera, the detective thing. And so brought me down, directed me to this house. And the woman said, I'll put you up here. That's grand for the night. And she said, call down to the house, the woman said. And they were the nicest couple. Her husband was from Donegal. And I think both of them may have been teachers, or he was a teacher. And so I went down and spent an hour or two sitting having a chat with them. They were very good. They spoke to me in English because, although I had honours Irish in my leaving cert, I was never able to have any conversational Irish because I think Gaels can't be either. Although either side of us in Gael, we had Rathcairn, one Gaeltacht, and we had Ballygibb on the other side. And my uncle Fintan Ginnity lived in Ballygibb, and his family all spoke Irish. But whenever I would approach them, they would speak English to me because they regarded me with suspicion. And as it turns out, I was there to do a story on the fact that there was no priest. And the other man that had been on the plane with me was, in actual fact, a temp priest. Right. And he was an Irishman who had been, he just retired, and he spent a lot of his life in Glasgow, and he was over, and he was living in Galway, and he was helping out. So he would fly out, hear confessions on the Saturday night, and do Mass on the Sunday. Yeah. Now, I saw him, he was sitting beside me, and he was staying in the same house, right? The same B&B. Yeah. But I just didn't hassle him or kept well away from him. Yeah. I was observing, And then that evening, then I went to the pub.
The pub.
and where I drank Kilbeggan whiskey. But the wonderful thing was, I had forgotten how many bloody stars there are in the sky.
Yeah, the clear nights.
There was no light pollution.
No ambient light pollution, yeah.
And, it was astonishing. The stars just seemed to be within reach.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it was almost a mystical experience. Well, the Kilbeggan might have had something to do with it too. But as it turns out, but it reminded me of years ago when I used to go to Andros or Sifnos or one of those Greek islands. And it was always like that. Again, no ambient lighting, and the stars were down on top of you. And you sort of understood the importance of the skies at night to our forefathers. And then the following morning, after Mass, I dropped down to my friends, who's dreadful. I've actually forgotten their names, but they were really nice people. And we went out and kicked a bit of football because there's a pitch there. And it was wonderful. But the other thing was as well that I saw scenes I recognised, although I'd never been there before, like the harbour. Yeah. I had a drawing by Sean Keating of a boat in, and the local lads were loading turf, and there it was. And then I had
But you didn't know at the time it was?
Well, actually, sorry, no. In fact, I knew it was the Aran Islands, but this was site-specific. I was there then. Yeah. And also Elizabeth Rivers is another artist who some of her work I collected. And I saw scenes that I knew, and I had a painting by her done on Inisheer. So it was astonishing, a circular coincidence. But it was only there for 24 or 30 or 5 or 6 hours or something like that. But it was so memorable.
Well, so you had a good day. If the weather's good there, it's a mystical place.
The Sunday was gorgeous. Yeah. That was the thing. The Saturday night was my arrival was covered in cloud and fog and so on. But later that night, it cleared off and I could see the heavens. And then the following day was gorgeous. Fantastic,
How was your flight back, okay? Less bumpy.
So, no, but the weird thing is, we on the way back, then we made stops. So I would have actually touched down, right? But we could see big wall of black cloud in the distance. And the pilot actually said, that's the storm coming in, and we were going to try and get in ahead of it. So it was a race against time. But we landed without incident. Yeah, so it was fantastic. It was a glorious experience.
Yeah. I'd be afraid, I've been there a couple of times. You'd be afraid to go back too many times in case you get the bad weather.
I
have that mythical notion in my head.
Yeah, you get landlocked or whatever,
Yeah. How would you describe yourself, Eamon? In your past, in the old days, remember you had to do that as a descriptor of what your occupation is?
I don't
Because
know.
you have a few strings to your bow, literally.
Excuse me, yeah. And I would have been saying a journalist up until, during COVID. And now I think I say writer or sort of I'm still a member of the NUJ, actually. So, so I still sort of say journalist. Journalist. And then I say, musician. and then if I'm prodded, I'll say art historian. And I'll leave it at that then.
You don't say rock star, no?
That never entered into it. I mean, baiting drums for a living. No, that was good crack.
Is that an episode in your life?
Big long one.
A long one.
Yeah. No, actually,
but is it compartmentalized? I guess is it part of your being which is no longer relevant, or
no?
Still
it's
there?
it's still. The funny thing is, it's still relevant.
Yeah.
I mean, look, in all honesty, I wasn't equipped for anything in life other than being a corner boy, essentially. And I was enthralled by music and rock and roll, more to the point. And so, like, I would have been a daydreamer. It's hard to describe this to people, but I would have been growing up in the 50s. There was nothing. I mean, I wasn't even in Dublin. I was in Kells, County Meath. It was 2 buses a day out of Kells. And that's only 40 miles from Dublin, but it was almost like 30.
But in those days, 40 miles was huge.
40 miles, 40 years, almost, And I remember getting advice from sort of some local people, get out of town, when you're come of age or whatever, leave town.